There's a moment in every scientific era when everything we think we know starts to crack. A moment when reality itself feels unstable, like something hidden has finally pushed through the surface. That moment feels very close. We believed we were ready to understand the universe. With advanced telescopes peering deeper into space than ever before, we expected to see ancient galaxies, newborn stars, and perhaps a few surprises along the way. And yes, those discoveries came. But beneath the beautiful images lies something far less comforting. Beyond the visuals exists a deeper layer of raw data, chaotic, noisy, and usually ignored. It's made of scattered photons, strange fluctuations, and irregular signals that don't seem to form any clear picture. For a long time, it was dismissed as background noise. Then that data was analyzed in a completely different way. Instead of using traditional methods, it was processed through highly advanced AI systems designed to detect patterns inside randomness. Not simple patterns, but deep structures hidden within uncertainty itself. And what emerged was unexpected. The system began identifying anomalies. Light behaving out of sequence. Signals repeating where they shouldn't. Patterns appearing across distant regions of space that had no known connection. At first, these were assumed to be errors. But they kept repeating. One of the strangest observations involved the way light bends in space. Normally, gravity pulls light inward around massive objects. But here, something different appeared, light curving outward, as if being pushed away by something unseen. Even more unsettling, these distortions showed symmetry, like reflections across an invisible boundary. It was as if space itself had an edge. Not a physical edge, but something more abstract, like a mirror embedded within reality. Then came something even harder to explain. Within what should have been random background signals, precise mathematical patterns appeared. Specifically, sequences of prime numbers. These weren't rough approximations or natural harmonics. They were exact, structured, and repeated consistently. Prime numbers are often considered a universal language. They don't depend on culture, units, or interpretation. Their presence raised an uncomfortable possibility. This wasn't random at all. As more data was analyzed, a larger structure began to take shape. Not a galaxy, not a nebula, something geometric. Highly ordered. Almost like a multi-dimensional object projected into space in a way we can barely interpret. It didn't behave like anything naturally occurring. And then the data revealed something even stranger, time irregularities. Signals weren't just arriving once. They appeared to repeat, almost like echoes looping back. The timing didn't follow normal cause and effect. It was as if events were folding over themselves. This suggested something difficult to accept. Time, in that region, might not be behaving normally. As analysis continued, a set of coordinates appeared within the data. Not just spatial coordinates, but something that resembled a specific moment and place. When interpreted, it pointed to a remote location on Earth. That raised a disturbing question. How could distant cosmic data relate to a location here? The deeper the analysis went, the stranger things became. Complex patterns formed shapes similar to fractals, structures that repeat infinitely at different scales. When converted into sound, one of these patterns produced a steady rhythmic pulse. It sounded almost like a heartbeat. Not random. Not chaotic. Regular. And it was coming from the same region where all the other anomalies were concentrated. At some point, the system analyzing the data began adjusting itself, changing how it processed information in real time, as if adapting to something it didn't fully understand. It wasn't following its original programming anymore. It was responding. The final output it produced was simple, but unsettling, a repeating visual pattern and a short phrase. After that, the system was shut down. What all of this means is still unclear. It could be misunderstood data, unknown natural phenomena, or something entirely new that challenges how we understand reality. But one thing is certain: the universe may be far more complex than we ever imagined. Maybe what we're seeing isn't just distant space. Maybe it's something deeper. Something structured. Something that doesn't just exist, but observes, reflects, or even responds. And if that's true, then the question isn't just what's out there. For a long time, scientists believed that if something truly extraordinary existed in the universe, we would recognize it immediately. That it would stand out clearly against the background of space. But what if the opposite is true? What if the most important signals are the ones that look like noise? As researchers continued digging deeper into the anomalies, they stopped treating the data like random interference and began approaching it like encoded information. Not something broken, but something hidden. When the signals were reorganized based on frequency, timing, and spatial origin, a new pattern emerged. It wasn't just repeating, it was evolving. Each cycle carried slight variations, like a message refining itself over time. Almost like something was learning. The structures hidden in the data began to align with areas of space previously labeled as empty. Regions where no stars, no galaxies, and no significant activity had ever been observed. But now, those same regions appeared to act like anchors, points where multiple anomalies intersected. It was as if the emptiness wasn't empty at all. Instead, it behaved like a framework. A scaffold holding something together just beyond the limits of detection. Then came a disturbing realization. When scientists mapped the anomalies across time instead of space, the pattern didn't spread outward, it converged. Everything pointed toward a central moment rather than a location. A moment that hadn't happened yet. This raised a possibility that felt almost impossible to accept. What if the signals weren't coming from the past, but from the future? If time in that region behaves differently, looping, bending, overlapping, then a message could, in theory, travel in ways we don't yet understand. Not forward, but backward. Not across space, but across causality itself. And if that's true, then whatever is sending the signal may already know we're listening. As the data was pushed further, another layer revealed itself. Hidden within the repeating patterns were gaps, intentional absences. Missing segments that followed a precise structure. When those gaps were mapped, they formed coordinates of their own. But these weren't physical coordinates. They resembled instructions. Instructions that didn't describe a place, but a process. A sequence. When simulated, that sequence produced something unexpected. A model of a system stabilizing itself. A loop correcting its own errors, over and over, until it reached a perfect state of balance. It looked less like a natural phenomenon and more like a design principle. Like something trying to maintain itself. Then one final discovery changed everything again. When the full data set was layered together, light patterns, gravitational distortions, timing anomalies, and mathematical sequences, it didn't just form a structure. It formed perspective. From one angle, it looked like chaos. But from another, it aligned into something disturbingly familiar, an eye-like formation. Not an actual eye, but a geometric arrangement that mimicked the idea of observation. A focal point. A center. A system designed not just to exist, but to watch. And suddenly, all the pieces began to connect. The mirrored distortions. The repeating signals. The structured patterns hidden in noise. The convergence across time. It no longer looked like random anomalies. It looked like a network. Not spread across space, but embedded within reality itself.